Now then, how are we all doing? Another wet, miserable day here in Yorkshire. So today, we're going to be getting this serviced up, ready for the next rally season. First job, we're going to get this saw bench dropped off, and then we can get to servicing it. So we're going to start by changing the engine oil. So we use a mineral oil and I'm using a 1540 mixed fleet engine oil. We've got this oil because we've also put it in the lorry and we've got that to service as well. So it holds 6 litres or 10.5 pints. So we'll start by getting this oil dropped out of here. As per normal, we're having videoing difficulties, so he's just said you can see why it takes Bargain Hunt so long to film. Yeah, grab this camera. Oh, lovely. That certainly needed a change. So we're just cleaning the bottom of the plug out. With transmissions and such, sometimes you do find a few filings, but in the engine, you really shouldn't. But in the light, you'll see it glinting if there's any iron filings, but that's fine. So we need a 5/8 spanner for this. I've been pre-warned that we have to see what it's like in here because it's had a bit of a farm conversion in this filter bowl in its previous life. Is that not right, Father? We shall see. It wouldn't be me without making a mess doing this job. So if you're watching this video and you've got a later 135, then this will actually be a spin-on canister. On this earlier one, it's an internal one. So I'm just checking up here, I'm gonna look at this and then we'll get this seal out of here and put a new one in. So what is it you've just said? This is probably the original one from 1964 and no one's ever changed it.
Possibly.
Just make sure that there is only one in there as well. So yeah, I always check, make sure there's only one seal in there. Nicely. Push that in nice and even. Get this put back in. So this is a tapered plug. So obviously as further it screws in, the tighter it is. When you're tightening these, just do them nice. I've never had one come out yet, so just nice and not stripping threads out at sump. There's no filing in the bottom of here when I get this out as well, before it goes in the oil bucket. So just tip that back.
Might springy gummies don't come out the bottom.
Well, and I'll get nice black hands, won't I? Tell you, I'm good at getting covered in dirt. So we've just made sure there's enough spring in the spring at the bottom to keep it nice and tight, so we're going to sit that in there, make sure that's set on there nicely, and that's going to get a good seal when it touches the face. So, oh, I know what we need to do. Should we put a new copper washer on there?
Yeah.
Let's. Right. That's no good to man the beast, that, is it? It's a brand new box. Very good that you saw these. Imperial as well. You watched them up built that size. What kind of fits? Don't have to do. Take 2. That copper washer's not ideal. So I'm pushing it up with my hand, making sure it doesn't get cross-threaded. Should just say these filters are readily available all over the internet you'll see one. Same as before, not too tight, eh, Dad? Don't feel quite right size, that, you know. If it leaks, you can nip it up a bit. So we put 4 litres in this jug.
Go steady, go it backs up.
So let's give this the time for the oil to go down into the engine. I'll have a look, see how much we've got on the stick. Oh. So it's just below the full mark. So that's plenty enough to give it a run, and then we can give it a top up afterwards. We're going to get these fuel filters changed next. There is actually a filter inside the tank here, but that shouldn't cause a problem at the minute. So we'll get that turned off and get covered in smelly diesel. Not that it smells as much as it did before. Oh, she's stuck. Oh, there we go. Diesel everywhere. So if you have got a diesel bug in your diesel, in the top of here you'll see some like white stuff. So that's when you've got your diesel bug. So there's a bit of crap at the bottom of there, look. That's very much similar to what diesel bug looks like actually. The new seal on the bottom, I've got some period filters or covers the period. We've got a new copper washer on the top, so hopefully now there are all new rubbers on there. Seems quite long, that bolt. Quite a long spanner this one, we're not too mad with this. If it leaks, we'll tighten it. It's only alloy this bottom part. You can get all these new and replacement ones now, but they don't say CAB on them. Is that tight enough?
Yep, fine.
Right, we'll go to this one next.
Oh.
It's still recording.
Yeah, that was the spanner entering the oil and diesel receptacle.
Oh dear.
That's the filters and rubbers changed. Now to put it back in position.
So this is a pre-filter, this one. So this is that is your water trap. So if you ever got any water in your system, you drain that off. And because the water's heavier than the fuel, the water will always go to the bottom. And that paper, I'll turn that to the side. Now we're going to get the sediment bowl. So this comes directly from the tank into here first. So this is glass. Luckily it's not falling off. Is this where it falls off and smashes? So that it'll just stuck on. We'll get diesel everywhere again. I'll just tip it out a little bit. You can see there's quite a bit of sediment in this. You can see that, can you see that? So in the top of there, there's a gauze. You see the gauze in there? So that's pretty clean on there. You can get those new also as well. It's just the original one. It says AC in the bottom. So we'll just offer that back up there. Nice, and I always just give them a bit of a twist to make sure that they're in the right position. On the pre-filter, this is the bleed screw, so if you just crack that off, drop spanner again. I'll turn the tap back on, daddle around the other side, and you can watch the filter bowl fill. I'm having to prime it, it's not filling. So we just pumped in a lift pump. But there's not much diesel in it. I can tell it. This is where you need assistant. So my assistant's around there pumping the lift pump. We're watching this first bleed screw. Got some fuel through to that. So we'll tighten it up while it keeps pumping. Nip that back up. And he's going to keep pumping a minute. And then I'm going to head further down the system. This is a fuel pump. There's 2 screws on the fuel pump to let the air out. Just slacking the bottom one off. See, it's dripping. Let's see where the phone or something gets covered in diesel in a minute. We've got a steady stream of diesel going in the bucket. Near here somewhere.
No pressure.
We're just getting diesel here now. I think we've got a slight leak on this one. We might need to nip it up. So we now crack the top one. Give it another pump, Dad.
No pressure.
Yeah, we're squirting diesel out everywhere. So we're good, we're good. So if you ever got a later 135, the pre-filter has a little glass bowl on the bottom and it uses the same filter on top.
Right.
Now we're going to turn to the air filter. So this is an oil bath air filter on this one. On the later 135s, it's just a standard air filter. This one's the oil bath type. So we're going to take this off and explain a little bit more in a minute. Oh, she's dirty in there, look. So in here you use engine oil, and it sucks it up through this filter here. So we need to take this off here, like this, and then give this a clean. Now there is methods of cleaning this via using paraffin. If nothing else, it smells lovely. It's just starting to get hold now, the grease and the oil. Don't do this at home. Well, so you can see now how the paraffin's been drawn up and it's burning all the dirt out of it. So we've got it clean out. I'm just going to top it with engine oil now to the level. On the outside. A little bit more. So you can see now, after his little fire, it's nice and clean. I've just tapped it out on the wall, but you can actually see daylight through it. So we'll get this button back up on here. We've got this fresh oil in the bottom. Oh, it's wrong way up. Seems to be turning round, but it must be tight enough. We're going to test the water. So these are a really cheap device that every vintage owner should have, really. Just to check your water, see how strong it is, basically.
Yeah.
We'll put this down in here. Sucks them up. What we do, it tells us how strong it is. So we've got one float to the top, so that means it's good to -7. So it's all right at that, isn't it?
I can't believe how you've managed to get it in without spilling any. That is a tremendous achievement at this stage. I think that
There you
perhaps
go.
will be all right to -45.
So antifreeze is actually thinner than water, so the more antifreeze you have in, the thinner it is, so the more chance of leaks you've got. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
It is, yeah, it's thinner than
I
water.
learn something every day. Yeah.
The other thing to note is the crankcase breather. This is a crankcase breather pipe here, and this is designed long down to the bottom so it doesn't get loads of dust and muck in there. So you can actually take this off. There's 2 bolts, and then that needs also cleaning out. That'll be fine for today. Another little job, a little squirt of oil in the back of the dynamo, just in this little hole, just to lubricate the bearing. Tidy up a bit, that's the next job. Right, so the next job, we're going to turn to the transmission. The transmission, there's actually a filter behind this cover on the pump, which is down here. So this tractor's recently had its oil changed in the transmission. So I'm going to do this just to show you how to get into there and where the filter is, and then we'll put the oil back in. So you will need 30 litres or 6.6 imperial gallons for the rear of the tractor. So to empty the gearbox and the rear end is all the same. There's a gallery inside that stops all the oil running out. So we'll leave this one because we don't need to be in here today for the gearbox. But we'll take the plug out the back to drop the oil. So we're just going to drop the oil level so I can get inside this cover plate. So on the front one you need a 11/16, and the rear one 1 inch and 1/16. But that's quite tight. Oh yeah, it is tight. Also, if you've had a tractor that's been stood a hell of a long time outside, with the water being heavier than the oil, you will find that sometimes it'll be full of white or milky that comes out of this hole. You can just see that it's not too bad on there for filings or anything. So we're going to undo these bolts now. On here. Hopefully we've dropped the oil enough. It's not going to run out. Whilst Dad's just taking the bolts out of there, just checking the clutch for free play. So, where is it?
3/4.
About 3/4 of an inch free play. For the thrust bearing touches the clutch plate. I'm just going to slide this piece of wood in to hold that off, so it just makes it a little bit easier. So now hopefully I'll not break the gasket. Oh, there we go. So I'll attempt to look inside now. So for those of you who don't know, this is where your PTO drive is. So that is your filter. So for relation where it is, it's just there. So we just faffed about and got rid of the locking tab. There's not many locking tabs on them. Now getting this off here, when it might need a adjustable or something, depending on how tight it is. So she's a bit tricky if they're a little bit tight, so we end up getting some pliers on it, just to free it, and then it screws off anti-clockwise. Make sure you grab it all with your hand and lift it out. So you can see on this filter it is pretty clean. I will show you, I'll stitch in a picture of the filter that came out of my 65 that we're restoring. The filter's absolutely full. So it's definitely worth going in there and just checking, make sure it's clean. And replacing. These are ready available, so you can find these pretty much anywhere. So just nicely nipped up with the hands. There's plenty of time enough for that. Why is everyone laughing? So I would recommend, before you do this job, to order a new gasket. They are readily available on the internet, but due to my nature, we're making a new one. Because this one's about had its life.
Really nice.
Right, there we go. It's a bit amateurish, but does the job. Saves at least. So when you're putting this back in, we have to make sure that on this gear here, there's a little indent where the lever fastens in. So that, you can see on the picture there, that goes inside that. Recording. So just make sure it passes. That's a bit tight in there, that one. Pull this piece of wood out. Oh. This might be tricky getting this back in here, actually, looking at it. Oh no. Just get them all in. Then we'll button a couple nuts up, and then we'll just check the PTO in the right place. Just button these two up here. Just nicely on. Off. My assistant is now taking off the PTO cover. So now I'll go back round here. Give her a spin. Is it free?
Free.
So if I push that down, that's ground PTO, so now the wheel should try and turn. And then push it back to the top. Turn it again. That's in engine. Neutral again.
Right.
So we'll get the oil put back in it now. It's located next to the gear sticks. This is oil that I use in the back end. One of my tractors got the multi-power, so this is the recommended oil to work best for multi-power. So we've got that button back up. We'll check the oil in a minute, and while we're in here, we're going to check the steering box. So the steering box is found in here. We need a 1/2 inch spanner. No, it isn't. It's 7/16. It's a little bit tricky getting into this one. There we go. So this actually acts as a level plug as well. So I've just got a little spike. And yeah, there's some oil in there. So we're all good. Get the back end oil. Perfect. Right, I think it's ready to see if she'll start. Now Dad said that it's always been a bugger to start. So we'll see. Can't believe it. Can't believe how skillful I am.
I can't believe it.
Right, so now we're going to do it. Check the front wheel bearings, check the brakes, and then the tyre pressure in the rear. So to save time, I've jacked it up in the middle, so both wheels are off the ground. Get behind the wheel. Feel for the plane on it all. She's rolling really easily. You can also have a little listen. Perfect. Says we're only jacking it up to check the wheel bearing and adjust the brakes. You can just jack it just off centre. It's nice and safe, but also not that important. So to start with, I'm going to make each brake individual, make sure they come back relatively level. So coming from the back of the tractor, there's these little covers. Start the film again so we can see. So you push this to one side, and inside here, it's a little cam. So we get a screwdriver, we flick the cam, so the wheel will not move. That's obviously the wrong way. You can just see inside there, the little cam. So now the wheel's solid. So now we're going to back it off. Should be about 3 turns. You can hear that's just binding. But the tractor has been stood, so there might be some slight bits of rust inside it. So maybe just take it off one more. There you go, look. You can just binding a little bit. That should be all right. So just repeated the same process on this wheel at this side. So now to make sure that they're adjusted to the correct place, push them out independently, and hopefully, theoretically, I have to use my knee since we're using my phone. They should start grabbing at the same time. And they should also release. So then your wheel's free. Time to turn the attention to the tyres. The problem is with vintage tractors that they are stood a long time, and you end up with flat spots. When you go down the road, you end up bouncing a lot. So I do recommend either lifting the weight off the tyres and put it on stands, or keep the tyre pressures quite high. So normally you'd maybe run these tyres at 12 to 18 psi, whereas probably put 20 in them, 20 in a little bit, just to keep them up so it stops them getting flat spots. Unless you're using them every day, then obviously put the correct tyre pressures in. So we'll give a chance for oil to settle again. It's quite far down the stick, so we'll give it a top up. So we're going to have to go and give it a bit of a road test, make sure brakes aren't getting hot and everything's all right. So we're going to head on out. So we've arrived, we've had a little run out, we'll just check the brakes. Cool as a cucumber. Perfect. I'm a little fresh. Safely black, one piece. It's so cold. Look at my face. It's all serviced up, ready for another rally season. 23rd rally season now it is since we started originally. And I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please hit the like button. If you like we do with these little videos, hit the subscribe button. I'm rather red. I'm rather cold. I'm going to stick the fire on and yeah. Thank you all for watching.